And welcome to the cooking show with Blake and Jessica. Today we'll be talking about how to make the perfect pancake after a long night of dancing. No, not really. This is Blake here live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. I've got the Matador coffee mug today from Flagstaff, one of my favorite places in the world. Today we're talking about Web3. There's a lot of buzzwords. So generally, when I look at those Web3 stuff, it's like buzzword this, that, shift left this, and all this other stuff. So it's kind of maddening for a lot of community professionals to make sense of it, right? You're just getting this kind of weird, kind of watered, kind of Michael Bay kind of look hype kind of around it. So we can really peel it back today, talk about it in a meaningful way, things like that, right? So we've got three of the best on there in the world with Web3. So we're just going to dive straight in today. Up first to the stage, we've got Jessica, and I'll put a quick graphic up there. Works at community@gooddollar.org, blockchain for social impact. So, Jessica, if you want to say a little bit about yourself, your journey, and a little bit about gooddollar.org.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me on this show. It's exciting to be here. I'm talking about my favorite topic, which is Web3 for social impact. So it's a great morning. A little bit about myself. I got into Web3 probably through like the least traditional route, which is what I tell all my friends is there's no traditional way to get into Web3. I studied public health. I worked in a international nonprofit focused on creating market access to family planning services and products in emerging markets. So, literally selling condoms in Africa and Asia. And it was a great job. Got to see a lot of the world, got to meet a lot of great people. But I was pretty disillusioned by the impact industry overall, and just seeing how the trickle down of money to where it needs to go really didn't get to where it needs to go most of the time. So, as an attempt to find other opportunities for myself, I left, moved to Tel Aviv, and got roped back into social impact when I connected with Anna Stone, who is my mentor, director. She approached me saying, "Hey, we have this startup. We're trying out this new magic internet money called crypto. We want to give it out to everybody with a cell phone. It's a cool new money experiment called Universal Basic Income. Do you want to do some marketing for us?" And I said, sure, why not? This is right before the pandemic, like right as like the pandemic was starting to, like as borders were starting to close. And I haven't looked back since. It was like a match made in heaven. And yeah, that's 2 years later, this is where I am.
And kind of getting into this world, what did you know about kind of Web3 and kind of the related technology around it going into that role?
I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. Like I had heard, Bitcoin this, Ethereum that, crypto, but I really had no idea what blockchain was, how it worked, what a smart contract was, all these buzzwords that I'm going to talk about, like no idea what they were. So it was definitely a steep learning curve, especially as everyone I was working with was a complete expert in the field. Actually, I take that back. No one is really an expert in this field because it's such a new technology, but really like had at least 5 years experience working in this field, and I came with zero. So it's never a dull moment.
Nice. And then for those kind of like a lot of us now are trying to get to start learning. But kind of like the biggest challenge is so much of the existing stuff out there is just filled with buzzwords. So it's just like you feel like you don't come out of anything any smarter. So what are like some of the maybe one or two like good resources, or if someone asked you like, hey Jessica, what should I do to start to learn this in a meaningful way beyond just the buzzwords? So when I go back, it's very practical.
Great question. I think the best way to learn is go down the YouTube rabbit hole. Um, they like you'll hear a bunch of buzzwords. Take those buzzwords, Google them, YouTube them, and then now the beauty of Web3 is we have Discord, we have Telegram, which are these online communities where people are chatting all the time, sharing information, helping each other learn. I would say find your community, whether it what let's say you're into basketball. There's a community of people that like basketball and want to learn about Web3 and NFTs for basketball. So that's like a find your niche, find your place, find what interests you, and then get to a place where you can explain what crypto is to your grandma.
Yeah, that's a tall ask. And then kind of at
Yeah.
Good Dollar, kind of looking there at blockchain for social impact, kind of for looking at kind of how they set up their model. And I watched a really fascinating talk last night with David Spinks again and Jeremiah Owang, where they're talking about Web3 community. And a lot of those kind of like the choices is like at what point do we introduce tokens versus like NFTs, and kind of what are we kind of giving the community at what stage? So kind of where is Good Dollar in that process in terms of bringing in members and community, and kind of there's a transactional side, right, where you can basically for give them tokens, NFTs, and some other types of deals. I'm still learning myself, or like more kind of like you have to earn type things, like you might get an NFT, but it's not necessarily like a transactional value. It can unlock things like that. And then there's that whole side of governance, right? So if you get all these people with all this money that can just come in, and so there's just so much more to think about that we've never had to think about as community professionals.
Absolutely. Good Dollar makes it super simple to get started on your crypto journey by just giving crypto away. So all you need is a Facebook or a Google account to open a digital wallet, wallet.gooddollar.org, uh, and you can start claiming a daily universal basic income. So you can hit a claim button every single day, and you get any you can today I think the claim is about 63 good dollars. Every day you get a certain distribution of good dollars that's actual real has real value, that you can start using. It's backed by Ethereum, it's on the Ethereum network. You can swap it, you can send it to your friends via the wallet. You can claim your governance token. Good Dollar is powered by a DAO. So Good Dollar really aims to be like the risk-free, no investment way to access crypto and start learning by doing. Because it is a wild west. Web3 is a wild west. There are scams and rug pulls, and a lot of there's money lost, money stolen, and for a majority of the world that doesn't have access to traditional finance or even just finance, that's not a risk that people are willing or able to take. So Good Dollar makes it really simple and really accessible, to join the digital economy. So that's that's our mission.
Interesting. And kind of for one kind of one yeah, so one kind of interesting question there. So or a couple of thoughts, and there's a couple of points there probably have to clear for people like trying to help understand some of what you said. So one
Mhm.
interesting thing there is for a lot of global communities, it is really tough to kind of reward users around the world, right? So at Amazon.com gift card, right, means is really great for the US, but in other countries, it's like actually they end up paying more than that the value that they're getting, right? So providing incentives and rewards around the world has always been challenging for a community professional. And now with essentially this Web3, you can essentially basically levels that kind of playing field, right? There are no kind of boundaries. There's kind of like tokens and ways you can give people this type of value. So that's just really kind of exciting from that perspective. You don't have to worry like, can I ship this to somewhere in Nepal? Like, oh my God, the shipping cost and all this kind of like governance and red tape for like being able to give community members reward is now like completely flipped.
Definitely, and that's I think one of the most exciting parts of working at Good Dollar is realizing that this is the creator economy, and this is the creator economy for good, and Web3 provides so much opportunity for people that have traditionally been left out of opportunity. And the internet has provided the access to information, and now Web3 provides the access to value. So Good Dollar is a community of over 350,000 people with that are claiming UBI. But the community itself, we have an ambassador program. So instead of paying Twitter and Facebook ads to run, promotional campaigns, what we do is we work with ambassadors around the world, from Nigeria to Indonesia to Vietnam. We pay them in our token, like a monthly stipend, and they create the local marketing campaigns. They do the community moderation. They run airdrops. They like bring in their local community for to expand the Good Dollar ecosystem, and that's so exciting because it's so much more powerful than a paid tweet. It's really organic adoption.
Yeah, and kind of just so we capture this, and then for Good Dollar, is there any like one or two just kind of amazing kind of stories so far since you've been there with a member, or some just amazing moment?
Yeah, so my I share this story a lot. His name is Steve. He lives in Nigeria. He's a student. He found out about Good Dollar well over a year ago, maybe two. He's quite crypto savvy, but also has a big heart and understands the need for universal basic income, and has dedicated a lot of his time to growing the project. He was able to crowdsource from the community about, I think it was 400,000 good dollars, which is the equivalent of $43 in his local currency, that he then used to pay for his school fees. So it's a great example of how um, there's this new emerging digital economy that can create real impact in local economies, and there's enough value and wealth in the world for people that don't have, so our basic needs can be covered. And when we talk about NFTs and the $100 million JPEG of a monkey being sold, like it the writing is on the wall. Like we just blockchain technology can deliver the solution for doing more impact and creating greater good in the world.
And for those that are watching this today, Jessica, we've got Jessica on from gooddollar.org. We've got a link to that into the chat along with their handle on Twitter. And so we'll have some out there like, how do I get it? They're going to ask me, like, it, or you, like, how do we get involved in gooddollar.org, and what are the ways we can get involved? So for community professionals or other people out there watching that are like, oh, wow, this sounds amazing, what are some of the ways they can get involved?
Yeah, so the easiest way is open a wallet, go to gooddollar.org, claim UBI, open up your wallet, start claiming every day. Um, Second is go to community.gooddollar.org. There you'll see a page for ambassadors. So if you want to take Good Dollar and bring it to your community, if you have a nonprofit or a local community initiative, if you want to use Good Dollar as an incentivizing token for the good that you're doing. There's room for everyone to apply this and to join the UBI ecosystem. And plus, get in touch with me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. Um, yeah.
Great. And just a few more questions before we get on to our next guest. And so for those today, we're kind of getting a little bit, we'll get a little bit lost in terms of the reward structure. So one of the and actually one of the interesting ones you mentioned is like a governance token, which is a new concept for us. Talk a little bit about like a governance token and what that means to a community.
So Good Dollar is powered by a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. What makes this DAO unique is that uh, every person receives their good governance tokens, um, based on how I actually am not very the best person to explain it, the distribution of the token. But with those tokens, you can vote on, you can make a proposal for how Good Dollar should spend their community treasury, or what decisions should be made about the protocol itself. So, for example, I think this is one of the earliest proposals that was made, was um, who was hiring 3 different community moderators. That decision was made through the DAO. That decision was voted on by the community with on snapshot.org, which is like the mechanism where you actually vote, connect your wallet, vote with your tokens. And the Steve from Nigeria was actually voted with the top votes to be the one of the community moderators. So it's like it's a new way for DAOs, or the new way for community to be the drivers of, sorry, the drivers of a community organization, where everyone has a vote, everyone has a say. That, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it's like it's for a lot of the people just kind of getting up to speed and grasping a lot of these kind of newer concepts, and it's definitely new for a lot of us. And then before we get into our next guest and getting into the lightning round, so then the kind of before we get to lightning round, kind of the last question I have for you is kind of like, for what are some of the trends you're seeing with Web3 community, and kind of what are you starting to see or picture 5 to 10 years from now? And obviously, it's tough to have a crystal ball to predict it, but are you seeing any kind of patterns? Are you seeing anything like, I think in 5 to 10 years will be this? And Clue Train Manifesto, one of the best books like a few decades ago, was about basically giving power to the users. And we kind of have gone away with that. And there's the hope that Web3 can help bring that back and giving power back from the platforms back to the actual users themselves.
Yeah, Web3 is all about people. Web3 is all about giving power back to the people. I do think that this is just the beginning of DAOs. This is the beginning of decentralizing a lot of what is currently centralized, from social media to banking to finance to a lot of the trust that we've entrusted in centralized entities is now coming back to us, where we have the ownership over our assets, over our activity, over the way that we interact with each other. From an impact perspective, I'm most excited about this because in traditional funding models, where you have like a group of donors at the top making decisions for entire countries on how they should access health services, like now it's going to be flipped 180, where you have like entire countries deciding how to spend money on the health services that they're accessing. So that's the future that I hope to see in 5 to 10 years. The space is always changing. It's changing every single day, so who knows? But I do think the future is really, really bright. I'm an
Amazing.
optimist.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, got to be that way, or it's like where we are today, right? So
Yeah.
we are live here with Jessica Salama from gooddollar.org, where they do blockchain for social impact. Before I let you go, we've got three. I've got three. I don't know. I say we. I've got three lightning round questions for you. So they're just quick, rapid fire questions for you. So I noticed you. I only speak like one language. Usually, if I go to a country, I'll learn a language. Like if I go to France, I'll learn it, and then it's 2 weeks after I'm back in the U.S., I forget it. But I see you speak four languages. How did that happen? And are you adding a fifth or sixth or seventh language?
Yeah, Spanish is my first language. I speak Italian, English, obviously. Hebrew, I speak like 60%. And fifth language, I would love to learn a fifth language. I just don't know with what time. But I would love to learn I would love to learn Arabic or Portuguese. That's on my list.
Ooh, yeah, nice. Those are really good ones. And then next,
Yeah.
you have a Bachelor of Arts Public Health Studies at Johns Hopkins University. Very impressive. What was that experience like?
It was great. It opened up a lot of doors for me. I met one of my professors was one of the leading scientists working on the polio vaccine. I can only say good things about learning public health from the experts.
Wow. From John Hopkins to gooddollar.org. And last lightning round question. If there was an NFT of your dreams, and maybe you're not an NFT person, what would that NFT look like?
I love this question. An NFT of my dreams would be a some sort of digital identity, global digital identity for everyone that grants you access to healthcare, voting, um, also serves as like driver's license, sort of like a one size fits all NFT that um, grants you permission and the ability to live and be free and migrate. Um, yeah.
Nice. All right. So for it was great having you on, Jessica. If you want to stick around for the Q&A, I've got Heinrich up next, and then Adebayo speaking here today. But if you want to stick around for the Q&A, and we can just all talk as a panel on some of this amazing stuff around Web3, I would love to have you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is a great chat.
Yeah, it was great to learn more about you and gooddollar.org. Links in the chat. I'll put them back in the post. So if you don't have time to write them down, you'll still be able to get them. All right. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks.
All right. And up next, really amazing career and journey. We're going to be bringing Heinrich up to the stage. Not even going to try to say the last name because I will butcher it. So, yeah.
Jason Doyle. Hi, Blake.
Hey, Heinrich, how are you doing? How's it going today?
Very well, thanks yourself.
Is it late? Is it a little bit late in the afternoon there for you?
It's 4:30 almost.
All right.
Here in Berlin.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So, just getting into it. So, we've got Heinrich on from Molecule. So, you're a community and marketing manager at Molecule. You got biotech, Web3, DAOs, blockchain cells, health, pharma, and just really like an amazing career. Just kind of looking at you from, I don't even know, it's kind of like almost like an Indiana Jones. You're going from like South Africa, Italy to Berlin. So if you want to tell people a little bit about yourself, career journey, and then kind of bringing us up to speed with where you are today at Molecule.
Yeah, thanks. So I started my career basically straight out of university, founded my own startup. And yeah, prior to that, well, during that period, got like obsessed with venture capital and Silicon Valley and that whole mindset. Then like through a startup competition, I actually met my like found my next career opportunity, which was basically an employee engagement platform and wellness platform for corporates. So had like massive clients already, and was offered a job there, and then like we got accepted into a startup accelerator in Italy, and got investors there in Italy. It's a well-known company called Technogym. They invested into our wellness platform. They make all the they sponsor the Olympics, all the gym equipment for the like top hotels, top gyms, and they wanted startups basically. So I lived in Italy for about a year, traveled between South Africa and Italy. And then when I got married, I moved back to South Africa and then worked for a startup accelerator. And that was 2017. That's how I found blockchain, and got like super deep into the rabbit hole while working for the startup accelerator. But wasn't really ready to transition like fully into blockchain. There wasn't really anything that really tickled my fancy besides like there was like a major crypto exchange in my city which I could go work for, but it wasn't really exciting enough, and I didn't really know what I will be doing for them. From there, I went on to work for a software development company, also as marketing manager, and then got offered a position in the pharmaceutical industry, and my real passion is actually health. So I'm like super deep into nutrition, fitness, that kind of thing. So the pharmaceutical industry was something that I really wanted to like explore. So worked in pharma for I think 2.5 years or just over that, more than that. And then yeah, like during the pandemic, got like really deep into the DeFi rabbit hole again, and yeah, like just started like investing because you had a lot of spare time at home, like on weekends and so on. And then like one day, just I heard about this. So like I've always thought like blockchain is the future, but like what would I actually do? Because I'm in marketing and sales and like that type of thing. Like I'm into health, so like I don't want to work for a bank. Like the bank, even though it's the bank of the future, it's still just like finance. So then one day, like I heard about a DAO called Vita DAO, doing longevity research, and my mind was just like I was hooked basically. And then quickly saw that Molecule was behind VitaDAO, and like they were looking to form DAOs for other disease entities, not just longevity, but potentially cancer, diabetes, and rare diseases. Yeah, and I immediately reached out to them and started contributing, like sending my proposal, like how I'd like to contribute. There wasn't a job position open, so I had to basically create the job for myself, and then found out like a couple of weeks later they were actually thinking about advertising the position. So I was like super early. Um, and yeah, I think I never even sent a CV. It was just like, here's what I can do for you, and like this is how I align with what you're doing. So I've got marketing experience, I've got healthcare experience, like super passionate about DAOs and crypto and blockchain, and understand it's the future. Yeah, and then started contributing part time, and then eventually full time. Yeah, since November last year. So that's where I'm right now, and I moved to Berlin 2 months ago. So still settling in here in the new apartment.
Wow, that's a lifetime of a career already, and it's like you're just getting started. Where are you like originally? Where were you born? Where are you originally from?
I was born in South Africa.
Okay, got it. So like in the Cape Town.
So I lived in Cape Town for about a year, but more in the center of South Africa, central South Africa. It's called the Free State, if you want to Google it.
Got it, got it. Wow, it's amazing. All
Yeah,
right,
but
yeah.
but my dad is my grandmother and grandfather. They spoke German. They were like super. Their grandparents like were born here, so there's always been that connection to Germany as well. So I'm good to be, I guess, back to my roots.
Yeah, Berlin's one of the most amazing cities. I absolutely love there. Other than when it's like super cold because it's like cold and raining, so you get like you're freezing, but you're also always like wet. So, but otherwise, like totally love Berlin. Just such an amazing city. And then, kind of one of the things you talked about with the kind of the concept of DAOs. So, for a lot of the community professionals to be watching this, they have what the heck is a DAO? Like, people ask me, I've heard this term a lot. What exactly is a DAO, right? And so if you had to like for someone community professional coming in, like, hey Heinrich, what is a DAO and what does that mean for an actual community?
Hmm. So a DAO, yeah, the best way I think to explain things like this is to compare it to what people already know, and that, in my mind, would be a company. It's not a company, but I'm comparing it to a company. So in companies you have shares, um, but in DAOs there's no shares, but you have this token, which in some cases doesn't really give you ownership rights, but it gives you voting rights, like a seat at the table on the board. Um, and the difference between companies and DAOs is also like it's cross-border. It's like completely cross-border. So you're not dealing with any particular jurisdiction, um, but you're actually dealing in cyberspace, which is like anyone with the internet can basically access this, and it's all through the internet and through usually public blockchains. So it gives anyone the opportunity to build and to come in and contribute. Like even if you're in South Africa, like myself, I didn't ever have to set up a US bank account or a German bank account. I could just receive tokens for my work. So it really enables collaboration on a really mass scale.
And that's kind of like, and one of the points we talked about, Jessica, is like for community professionals today, really good geolocation in terms of US, right? For like US rewards, like shipping, whether it's swag or monetary, it's very easy. But once you get into international, like every country has like, different customs and rules, and it's a nightmare. Like, and we're like, how the heck to reward them? And with blockchain and into Web3, that totally like changes it, right? It's so easy to reward people now and to do things. And so DAOs is like one part of that. And then you also touched on something really fascinating to me is like DAOs for like essentially like curing diseases or, around like cancer, some of these other ones. What does that kind of look like, and what is it going to be able to accomplish, and kind of what do those type of communities look like? That just sounds like you just blew my mind there.
Yeah, so it's about like getting all the experts from anywhere in the world together in a very short amount of time. Like if you think about a pharmaceutical company, if they want to cure a rare disease, well, first off, there might not be any financial incentives to do that, and because they're a company and they have to you know, create value for their shareholders, there might not be any value in like a rare disease, for example. But I think if you zoom out and like look at the whole world, you could quickly get together enough people who are experts and passionate about that, and also they will have ownership in whatever they're creating. So if you think about like the researcher who actually finds the cure for cancer will, or for a specific treatment, will end up capturing like a very small amount or even no value at all. And adding like the DAO layer will essentially, yeah, just reward everyone who comes in and participates. So you can get 100 contributors who are experts in whatever disease, um, versus thinking about trying to recruit 100 people in the US, for example, and like the leading researchers actually in Denmark. So yeah, I think that's where I see it going.
And kind of what do you see like the future of that in terms of the impact of existing diseases or some of the rare ones? What does that kind of look like in 5 to 10 years? Because you're kind of like flipping the script in a lot of ways, and just making it global too, where it's like in the past you're kind of like it's who you're connected to, and now like with the internet really being able to connect people, this is like one of those ways where it's like yes, we are really able to connect people around these subject matter experts, the other stuff, to really centralize and stream those efforts into one, instead of just people working like in random spots isolated, right?
Yeah, I think so. The best example of that, so this is already like working out in the wild, is VitaDAO, which is the longevity research DAO that I mentioned. Although aging is not classified as a disease, if it were, it'll be if it were classified as a disease, I mean, there will be a lot more funding going into it, and hence, VitaDAO was born. So what I've seen in VitaDAO is that people like myself, who is like an enthusiast. I would never be able to own like shares in a biotech startup. Like being from South Africa, not being an accredited investor. So it's actually like giving the enthusiasts and even the patients in some cases. So if you are a patient with a rare disease or diabetes, it would be like really hard for you to buy stocks in a biotech startup. Whereas with the DAO, you can come in much earlier, and yeah, it's getting all those people together from all over the world.
Nice. And then for molecule today, any sort of like one or two like amazing stories so far since you've been there that you're aware of?
Yeah, so like we've funded through the IP NFT like two amazing researchers, also doing longevity research. Um, the one project that we funded was funded in such a short amount of time that like going through the traditional route of grant funding, which is, I think, like the majority of early stage research is funded through grants, the NIH, for example, and that's a like really really long process. Like I think writing the grant application takes like 3 months, and then it has to be like redone, reworked and reworked and reworked. Where we funded a researcher at Newcastle University doing autophagy research in like 4 weeks. He came to us, and 4 weeks later, he got it. He got his funding, and he could go about like actually doing his research instead of wasting his time with these grant applications, and which is like the rate of funding from the NIH is not keeping pace with all the new innovation and research that is like being birthed. So I think, yeah, that was like seeing our protocol in action, actually funding research, was the highlight for me. And
Nice.
also like every day, so on our Discord is what we use mainly to communicate, that and Twitter. But every day I see new people coming into the Discord in the introduction channels, a channel introducing themselves, and these are like leading researchers, leading biotech entrepreneurs, software developers. People are coming in. It's like scientists who are like 20 years background in pharma, 20 years background in research, coming into the Discord and just asking, how can I help? So it's actually been, yeah, it's like difficult to keep up with everyone who wants to help, because we're not a DAO yet. We are actually, as Molecule, still like in that process. So it's like fun to see thousands of people just coming together and being like vision aligned, like everyone's been saying, just like myself. This is the first time like that we've combined, or that someone has combined all of their passions, like blockchain, healthcare, um, you know, DAOs. Like it's just, yeah, it's not just me. It's like all of our employees basically like super deep into healthcare, or yeah, just longevity, or psychedelics now even. So yeah, we're enabling those like early stage research to be funded.
Nice, and that's a good segue. So, for those watching today, say, "Hey, this sounds amazing. How do I get involved?" So, how would you recommend people say, "Hey, Heinrich, this sounds amazing. How do I get involved?"
Yeah, so I would say start by I don't know if you can share it in the chat, but join our Discord. Like read through some of our resources there and the Get Started channel. And then if you're ready, introduce yourself, and yeah, tell us how you'd like to contribute. We're also hiring at the moment. So there's a career page which you can also find in the links on our Discord. But yeah, introduce yourself, reach out to us on DM, and yeah, also like make it easy for us. If you want to get involved, make it easy for us by saying how you'd actually like to be involved. So if you're a developer with who's an expert in Angular, and you can build beautiful front, like I don't know, build beautiful dashboards, whatever that may be, and go and look at our website, like identify gaps yourself. And that's kind of the DAO attitude, is like, don't wait for anyone to tell you what to do. I mean, we have open positions and you can apply, but you will always impress us if you are proactive in like yeah, like just showing seniority in terms of identifying gaps, and seeing how you can fit into that.
Nice. And then just one more question before we go to the lightning round questions. And so, similar question to Jessica. So, kind of, you're on the front line. So, kind of, what are the trends you're seeing with Web3 and community? And if you had a crystal ball, and no crystal ball is perfect, but where do you kind of see this taking us in 5 to 10 years? And this is kind of like zooming out, not just for pharma, healthcare, but just kind of overall some existing trends today, community Web3, and then 5 to 10 years, is there anything you kind of like you're starting to see that as a pattern or something like, I think this might be where we'll be in 5 to 10 years?
Mm.
And that can be optimistic, pessimistic, whatever.
Yeah, so zooming out, obviously, I don't even think I'm biased anymore, but let me tell you why. If you look at, so a PwC report said that 80% of central banks are currently working on or thinking about their own digital currency. So blockchain is like here to stay. Then if you look at Visa, they are piloting, or last year they piloted settling transactions on the Ethereum blockchain with USDC. If you look at the job openings at Apple and Amazon, they are hiring blockchain experts. So we're talking about the world's biggest companies. If I speak to my friends who work at banks, they all have even DeFi or blockchain divisions. So everyone's getting on board, in short. Yeah, and in terms of Web3, everything is becoming a DAO. I don't think like most DAOs will fail or fail to even raise a single cent. But I do see like DAOs popping up for everything. And this is both a exciting opportunity, but also a yeah, a little bit of a challenge, because it can be so distracting, and like every second guy has an idea for a DAO, but actually getting a DAO off the ground is actually, I mean, it's difficult. It's not like, yeah, like if you look at the amount of successful DAOs, like there's like probably 2,000 successful DAOs at most, and like 10,000 ones that are struggling to even launch. So I want to be like cautious in that sense. Like everything doesn't need to be a DAO, but given the right use case, I think it's the future. And the difference also between companies and DAOs is you have this open Discord, which most companies have a closed Slack, for example. So with the open Discord, there might be like 10,000 community members, and all want answers like now. If they have a question, they want it answered now. And with all the time zones, it's like non-stop, 24/7. So we need a lot of community managers for that, including ourselves. We are building as Molecule more and more DAOs in different disease entities, and we need healthcare experts to come in who also have community building skills. And like the users expect answers like straight away. They don't care if you're in a different time zone. So we need multiple community managers. We want to do community calls at night, when it's in the US at night. Like so it's early. Like could be like 2 a.m. in Berlin or whatever. So there's going to be a huge need for community managers who are fluent in like Spanish, fluent in English, fluent in Chinese. Yeah, and it's going to be it's going to be the ownership economy. And if you think about Gmail, for example, built on SMTP, Google like extracts all the value from SMTP through their ads, and through like harvesting your data. But imagine if SMTP was owned and governed through a DAO, or HTTP. No one owns the internet basically. So Facebook came in and they built these closed communities. So I see DAOs being the vehicle that is going to change literally everything.
Nice. And it kind of gets back to the Clue Train Manifesto book that came out like in the 2000s. I remember, but that's kind of gets back to where it's the power is back to the users. And then before I bring on our last guest, and then we'll have a panel. I'll try to get you all up after I talk to Adebayo. I've got some lightning round questions for you. So this is just rapid fire, quick questions before I let you go. We've got Heinrich from Molecule with us today. I've got a link in the chat to the Discord, also their website. So first question, just like Jessica, you speak 4 languages. How did that happen? And are you adding a fifth?
So I have to learn German now because I'm here in Germany, and like I say 90% of the people don't speak English. But I'm from South Africa, as you've mentioned, and we have 11 official languages. So I can speak English, and obviously, and Afrikaans, which is the other like African language, which is kind of like Dutch. So that's like fluent, and then we have an African language called Sotho, which I'm a little bit rusty there, if I have to be honest. Yeah, and then just living in Italy for a year, that's like very basic. And yeah, now German, still very basic. I wouldn't call myself. I wouldn't say I can speak 4 languages, actually.
Nice. And then for really passionate about health, fitness, and nutrition. So, kind of for any tips out there today, because obviously mental health is something a lot of people are, especially been struggling with the pandemic, and now wanting to get back with fitness and nutrition. So, and community managers also for kind of running the risk of getting burnt out. Like we're sitting there now, we're in front of our computers, we're not having to commute into work and stuff like that, but we're also like sitting in front of our computers, laptops, like 24 hours a day. So what are some of the like health, fitness, nutrition things as community professionals we should be doing?
So I think the countless studies have shown that if you could bottle exercise or put exercise in a pill, it would be by far the most powerful drug. So you have to exercise, I think at least guidelines say at least 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise. That's like a no-brainer, like the research is clear on that. I think also stretching is important because sitting all day will get your muscles tight. For cardiovascular health, like longevity, life extension. I think exercise is the number one thing you can do. And in terms of nutrition, I'm very I wouldn't say like very conscientious about what I put in my body. Like also like I see protein, carbs, fats. Like always look at that, and then just try to get the healthy versions of that. And yeah, I mean, in terms of sleep, I think is another one that like there's nothing that can replace 8 hours of sleep. Not your coffee, not your exercise. Yeah, it's very difficult, like being a community manager and like across different time zones. But that's why that's why you should hire two like community managers in different time zones. But yeah, also I'm like never actually been a personal trainer, but I'm a certified personal trainer. But mostly just did that for myself to be able to help my family and like people around me to be able to live and feel healthy and energized always. I think if you take care of yourself, your work is just that much better.
Yeah, and I just say like for community professionals, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your community or anyone else. And then the last question for bring up the next guest. If there's an NFT of your dreams, what does that NFT look like?
Awesome question. I would say it'll definitely have to be a dynamic NFT. So one that can change over time and like improve over time. So it's programmable. I would say the IP NFT from Molecule. Obviously, I am biased, but I'll explain why. So imagine if patients can own a patent for any kind of therapeutic, a cure for their disease. I think also like giving that power to the researcher or that ownership to the researcher where they can actually own part of the patent and it's not monopolized by a pharmaceutical company. So my NFT of my dreams wouldn't be a picture because a picture is just a picture. I'm sorry. A lot of people will find offense in that, but like there are some really cool NFTs. But imagine that the NFT also gives you ownership to research, and yeah, life-saving research or a patent, which could eventually end up like saving countless lives. And that for me would be my dream IP NFT, by NFT.
Yeah, and I totally get it. I just saw like I was just watching a podcast and somebody's bragging about this. Like they were like in early, so they got this like special NFT that was unlocked, but it was like I guess they put in like several $100,000, and they did this like big reveal of the NFT. It was like this digital art, and it just looked like something that somebody put together in Microsoft Paint. And it's just like, and it was like, so this is a really kind of a strange world for people outside of it. Like, wait a minute, this stuff is really exciting. This person just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that looks like somebody did in Microsoft Paint, like, so which is like really confusing. You're like, everyone's like, what's going on? But totally get it. Where NFTs have so much more value beyond just like a what we would almost conceptualize as a GIF, a JPEG, or a PNG, or things like that. So totally, where the NFTs have this. There's so much more to them, and possibility. So it's amazing. But thank you so much, Heinrich, for coming on. If you want to stick around, we'll do a kind of a panel Q&A once I get done with Adebayo. But if you want to stick around for that, it was amazing. Just doing some groundbreaking stuff there with Molecule. I hope everybody checks that out. My mind is definitely blown listening to everything you had to say, your career journey, and everything that's going on with Molecule today. But if you want to stick around, I'll bring you all back with Jessica when we get done talking with Adebayo.
Thanks for organizing this, Blake, and yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's been great.
All right, well, stick around for the panel if you have time. All right, up next, we've got our final speaker before we go into a panel and do a Q&A. So we've got Adebayo. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. We're going to bring him up to the stage. Adebayo, how's it going?
Hi, Blake. How are you?
Very good. So this is like the first time we're like really meeting and talking. So am I saying Adebayo right?
Yeah, you're saying it right. That's fantastic.
And wow, it seems like you're doing very well. You've got like a nice couch and a swimming pool going there. So
Yeah,
So, all
that's
right,
quite.
man. So for I see very active out there in the community scene. So for those not familiar with you, talk a little bit about your career journey, and also like where you are today and kind of what you're up to into this world of community.
Yeah, so basically, my name is Adebayo, but most people call me Sheumbayo. I'm a front-end engineer turned community manager. And I think that one started when I joined tech. I was one of those people that firmly believed that technology will be used to solve 80% of the world's problem we are encountering. And that was one of the reasons why I joined tech. And joining tech for me has been, even though it was rough from the beginning, I had to start learning some other few things that was not useful for me. I had to dabble into graphic design, back end, front end, which I now decided to say, oh, I found my love. I love doing front end. I love coding what I like seeing. So I decided to stick at the front end engineer, which I started my journey. And after 2 years in front end engineering, I noticed I sort of had this passion about helping developers. I'm so passionate about helping people. And I think that's one of the things that led me into community management. Even though in tech, CM roles weren't that so popular to say, oh, you want to go into tech to become a CM. All the things you heard was, oh, I'm a front end engineer, I'm a back end engineer, and probably you're a designer, product design, or graphic design. So, community manager was not like a full time role, or it wasn't a role companies were looking forward to hire for. So, I decided to venture out volunteering for communities. And yes, even as a volunteer for some notable communities online, I decided to say, oh, since I have experience managing communities, why not start up an online community that teaches people how to code? And I think that's one of the idea of Code Clan Nigeria. Even though we have other branches in UK and Ghana and outside Nigeria, but that's one of like the vision of Code Clan Nigeria, where we hold people by the hand to teach them how to code. So my journey was became a front end engineer, even though with knowledge of graphics design and back end. After 2 years in front end engineering, transition fully into community management. And after about 3 years in community management, I'm transitioning into the dev role, a developer advocate, and I'm currently a developer advocate as Ferron. Basically, what we do as Ferron, we are like a web hosting company. We are the Vercel of Web3. We are a decentralized web hosting company because I believe in as much as we preach about Web3, decentralized web blockchain, people do not need to be building their products on centralized servers. We are preaching about Web3, which is the decentralized web. We don't need to allow people to be building their product on a centralized web. So, and that's one of the reasons why, or that's one of the advent of Ferron. You could just check us out, use us to host our project or your project, and I'll keep in touch with the community. So that's just my summary in tech, and that's my journey so far.
Wow, it's a lot. So you're currently today you're based out of Nigeria?
Yeah, yeah, I'm currently in Nigeria at the moment.
In which city in Nigeria?
Well, I'm in Lagos. I shuffle
Lagos.
Lagos, Abuja at the moment.
Yes, the home city of UFC champ Israel Adesanya, and also with Jep, who I had on last week. Do you know Jep?
Yes, yes, I know Jeff. The world is
Jep,
a small world. So we are on
do
in
you
the
get to
community
like meet
space.
in person or only like through Zoom?
Well, for now, probably Zoom. I think we've not had more events in Nigeria that bring community managers together. So
Right.
we'll be looking forward to do one of those in the nearest future.
Nice. And for me, one of the interesting things, and it's just amazing with Nigeria. So like for a lot of the community teams out there, hopefully for people watching it today looking for community professionals, I always say like the first place I'm generally always thinking of and starting to look for if I'm hiring or for other people hiring is like look at the amazing talent in Nigeria, right? It's like it's just like kind of like born in Nigeria for people to just be uniting other people, being highly extroverted, having like soft skills that we don't see like in other places. They're just something in the water, the DNA in Nigeria that where community professional is something that so many can readily do and so much where you would have to train other people. Someone from Nigeria can go in to your business, your community almost from day one. There is this amazing vibrancy and this amazing sense of how do I bring all these people together. I don't know enough about Nigeria to know that, but if I'm a community professional hiring or looking to hire, there's so much amazing talent right now today going on in Nigeria.
Yes, yes, it's good that you realize that there are so many talents in Africa and Nigeria to be specific. Even though I've met some hiring managers say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't hire out of US, we don't hire out of Europe, and all of that." Yes, I agree to the fact that there are so many talents. Maybe because we naturally have that empathy, which is one of the soft skills of a community manager, and maybe because we naturally face those tough times where it allows us grow into having these soft skills that is being needed. But yes, I'm one of the firm believer that TM roles, you need to look at Nigeria market, and not only looking at my Nigeria market, I think people should start talking about the fact that we want being in Nigeria does not mean you should weigh down the market price of your CM. CM roles are CM roles. What a Nigerian will do or what somebody in Africa will do, I can guarantee is more than what somebody in Europe will do. So we shouldn't look down on the location and say, oh, because you are based in Nigeria, we cannot pay this price and all of that. Let's just, as much as we want quality, let's be ready to pay for quality.
Yeah, I completely agree. When you're paying for quality, you're getting some of the best in the world. Pay them accordingly. And then for since you've been into community so far today, or even in working with Web3, any like one or two like amazing stories for you so far that you've been a part of or experienced being in this world of community or Web3?
Yeah, yeah. So basically for me, like I was talking to like the CEO of Ferron. One of the things that made me join Ferron was I've been thinking about, wow, we've been talking about building on the decentralized web, but how about hosting our projects? Where do we want to build on? And that was one of the reasons that made me join the team. I sort of like the saying that says that if you cannot beat them, you can join them. I couldn't beat them, they beat me to the product, and I decided to join them to say, oh, yes, I'm joining the team. I have this idea. These are my plans. This is what I initially wanted to do, and all of that. So that has been striking for me. And for the fact that I belong to other Discord communities where They are teaching people how to code. They are teaching people how to come into Web3. They are doing so many amazing things. I've seen people from Africa, people from Europe, and I've seen communities do fantastic things in Web3. And basically for me, the striking part is I've seen some communities where they say, oh, after learning or after you have gone through our learning phase to come into Web3 as a developer, you get to have an NFT minted to you. And I can't wait to see what those NFT will do in the future. Yes, even though we want NFT to be like our digital identity, I'm so optimistic about the fact that NFT will get to that point which we want it to be. So yes, that is it for me.
Yeah, and kind of like one a perfect segue. And so for just talking to some people recent weeks, or like kind of for lost your video there, but for NFTs and community professionals today, and they're saying like, what exactly is an NFT, and what does NFT mean for a community?
So basically for me, I use this analogy to explain to a layman. NFT for me is like a digital art. I know in the past people want to buy art and hang it in their wall. People want to get art and say, oh, somebody drew Barack Obama, I want it hanged in my wall, or I have a picture painting of Donald Trump, I want it in my wall. NFT is just that stuff, but on your digital experience, a digital experience. And the more very good fact about NFTs these days is community use NFT to say, oh, as a reward, and which is very good for me. If after learning stuff for 4 3 4 months and I'm being rewarded with an NFT, I can say, oh, I'm opening this NFT to the market. Number one, it serves as a source of income for me. Also, I know that I have this reward. That's number two. Number three, I get to have this sense of feeling that yes, I have an NFT in my name. I have an NFT minted in my name. So yes, NFT basically they are just digital art, and the exceptional fact about NFT is can be pictures, it can be music, it can be just anything, just name it. NFT can be anything. People use it as community reward, people use it as an identity. For me, I see NFT as a future passport. We don't need to say, oh, I'm a Nigerian, I have a Nigerian passport, or I need a Canadian passport. We just want NFT. People around the world can be connected and say, oh, this is our passport. So I'm looking forward to see when NFT get to that stage, and I'm looking forward to see when everybody we are ready to talk about NFT as a passport in quote.
Nice. And on your blog, one of your great blog posts is kind of basically Web3 to a 15-year-old. And so Adebayo wrote in this blog post, Web 3.0 is a term that is used to describe many evolutions of web usage and interaction among several paths. It is the new iteration of the web-based blockchain technology. Amongst other differences between Web 2 and Web 3, decentralization is at its core. I've got a link to that blog post into the chat. So that was just a really amazing way to kind of break down Web3 for community professionals.
Yes, thank you very much. Basically, I've heard this misconception and people say, oh, I'm in Web3, and when you get to find out this person is just trading crypto. I've heard people say, oh, crypto is Web3, blockchain is Web3, and I like to tell people, sorry to burst your bubble, NFT is not Web3, crypto is not Web3, blockchain is not Web3. Web3 is the whole concept of a new web. Web3 is the whole concept of a new web. And in that blog post where I ended, we say decentralization is at its core. One of the pioneering factor about Web3 is decentralization. We want to give power back to the people, where we tell the people, oh, you are signing up on my website, even though we have this data but not stored on our central server. You know what to do with this data. We don't tamper with your data. We don't use your data. We don't sell your data. Yeah, so decentralization is at its core. Nobody have the right to tamper with anything in the blockchain community. For example, let's say we have a Web3 community or a decentralized autonomous community. Nobody can wake up to say, oh, I want to sell this community, or I want to sell data of this community. It's gonna be the community effort, and that is one of the very good thing about decentralization. Decentralization makes it that everybody that has a stake around that circle gets to either pick a yes or no before we can move forward. So Web3 is the whole concept of decentralizing the new web. I know why most people misconcept Web3 to other things is because yes, in this generation we grew up to Web2. So we don't really have like a deep understanding of what Web1 is. But looking back to Web1 and Web2, even though Web 2 has opened the web to everybody and everybody is now on the internet, everybody's on the website, I still see Web 3 as that big, very big thing where everybody will get to be on the internet, number one. Even though, yes, you need before you can earn reward in Web 2 as an internet person, you either need to be a developer or you just need to be a tech person. But Web3 is opening the world where, as a doctor, you can mint your NFT, you can get reward from it, you can purchase a land from Metaverse, and even from Metaverse, Facebook, you can get sort of things. Web3 is just open a lot of world. So that term Web 3.0 is like the whole evolution of the current web, not minding Web 1, Web 2, but Web 3 is not crypto. Web 3 is not blockchain. Web 3 is not Bitcoin. Let me just end it there.
Nice, and I kind of, again, it's like for me, it's like there's a book that came out, Clue Train Manifesto, where it really talks about the decentralization, the kind of the promise of the internet giving power to the users, and it feels like all these, like I think it's the 20th anniversary maybe this year, but kind of we're getting back to that. So it definitely is a great perspective for you. And before we get into our kind of panel discussion here, I've got three lightning round questions for you, and you really painted a good picture there, kind of the current future state of Web3 and demystifying some things. So, lightning round question for you. These are rapid fire questions. Um, do you actually? I'll do four. Right. So, first, do you also speak four languages? We are on a roll with like people speaking four languages. How many languages do you speak?
Well, at the moment, I speak two of my local languages with English, and I'm learning Spanish and French.
You just said 12 languages.
But
Or
I can speak two of my
two?
local language
Okay.
and English, and I'm also learning Spanish and French. So probably four, maybe also.
Oh my, oh my gosh! I am slacking here. I've got to like step it up. What an amazing panel that I have today. And one of the big things that's really important to you is volunteering. So what has been your favorite all time moment volunteering?
Well, for me, as somebody that is passionate about helping developers, my all-time moment is seeing developers or seeing interns that went through me build awesome product. I love great and successful products, not to mention the fact that these products were built by somebody that just 2 months ago could not learn how to code. So my all-time moment is when some of my interns say, oh, I built this stuff, it was acquired by this company, I built this stuff and it was acquired by this company. Yes, it was it. Aside that, there are so many great moments for me as a community manager volunteer, seeing that volunteering for so many tech community, also seeing that intern have to pass through me and say, oh, this guy, for me, I believe in a good name. So this guy was a very, very role playing fact in my tech journey. For me, is that's it for me. So that's like my all time moment.
Nice, and you're also a part of Code Clan Nigeria. So tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Code Clan Nigeria is an online community where we teach people how to code, but this is the angle we are taking. I know there's Udemy, there's YouTube, there's free code camp, but we still believe that there are some people that they need for you to hold them by the hand to learn the ropes. So one of the things Code Clan do is practically pair you to a mentor. What we do at Code Clan that is so unique and different is we don't pair more than three interns or three mentees to a mentor. So we have a mentor where the mentor gets the chance to practically hold you by the hands and walk you through the ropes. We know that you could get resources online to learn, but trust me, not everybody can learn through that phase. So at Code Clan Nigeria, we assign you to a mentor, we have a web portal, we have resources installed. Your mentor gets to hold you through the hand, and it's just like walking in the steps of that mentor, or it's just like saying you're on a real track, your mentor is holding you while you are walking through. So that's one of the distinguishing facts about Code Clan Nigeria. Yes, we are a community where we teach people how to code, and we are focused on mobile, web, and back-end engineering at the moment.
Nice. And last question before we get to our panel today. I got a link to Code Clan Nigeria like in the chat. So if there was an NFT of your dreams, what would that NFT be?
I think I have two. One of my NFT of my dreams is an NFT of Queen Elizabeth, where everybody gets to hold and say, "Oh, this is my global passport." and I don't need, when I get to the airport, I'm showing them my NFT of Queen Elizabeth and saying I have a passport. That's number one. Number two, the second NFT of my dreams is having to have an NFT where that allows me have an identity on the metaverse. I have this rough idea of, in the future, Web3 would borrow some of the virtual realities of VR or AR glasses we have, where me as a professional, or I'm a lawyer in this life, I come back from work and I'm with my AR glasses, I'm putting it on my bed. In the metaverse, I'm over there as a software engineer doing my daily work. It's sort of like something sketchy, but I just have that idea. So with the help of NFT, I hope everybody will be able to access that realm, even though it looks like a sketchy realm at the moment. So those are two, well, NFT of my dreams.
Oh, nice. So we've had Adebayo up here today from Nigeria, walking us through their career, volunteering, Co-Clean Nigeria, thoughts on Web3, really breaking that down. They're like learning more languages than like 10x of me and so forth. We're gonna now turn it over to our panel discussion here today. So I'll bring back if we've still got our panel up here today. So I'll bring back up to the stage Jessica and Heinrich. All right, hello everybody. So it's amazing. This hour like flew by. We're actually past an hour. So any thoughts as we've all been able to talk with each other about Web3 and have this kind of conglomeration, this explosion of Web3 all at once?
Yeah, I'll start. Let's do we're planning an event in Lagos, so let's definitely connect and with good dollar and what you're working on, because there's a lot in common, and I agree 100% with everything that you said, that this new economy is for everyone, and we need to be equal and treat everyone, reward and pay and onboard everyone equally. And yeah, I'm excited to see what your community does, and how if Good Dollar can support you guys in any way.
Very cool. And there was one kind of like hot topic thing. We'll just go into like one hot topic that came onto Twitter. I think it was yesterday, but Kristen Stone, I'll put a link into the chat, but I just really wanted to get well, I have you all hear your thoughts on this. So Kristen Stone on Twitter wrote, it's a little bit long, so just stay with me. Wrote, in Web3, we thought giving early contributors tokens to a project would incentivize participation. Instead, it incentivized greed. Early contributors to successful projects got rich quickly and then went on to the next gold mine. Side note, some service provider DAOs are doing this as a business model. You know who I'm talking about. This action provided a model to put your community that being greedy is rewarded. More dangerously, it put decision making power in the wrong people's hands. And I'll put a link to that in chat. So any thoughts on that from the panel? Because I'd love to hear, as people on the front lines, what your thoughts are on that.
I can take it.
All right.
Just my opinion. Yeah, I think the best, the best open communities should be really truly decentralized. Like I've seen DAOs that are like where the majority of the tokens are earned by the employees or the founders. But I've also seen DAOs, and like that's what I like also about Good Dollar, is it seems like you're trying to make it as decentralized as possible, probably from the start. So I've seen DAOs where like everything is transparent, everything is like discussed and voted on, whether it be on Discord or on Discourse or Snapshot. And yeah, I think there are unfortunately some of those DAOs where the early founders or early participants are disproportionately, they're also taking more risk, but you have to have a treasury large enough and think more longer term on how you're going to keep incentivizing um, participation versus like all the money being made like from the start, and then everyone leaves. So
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think what we see a lot in this space is unfortunately Web 2 problems being replicated in Web 3, where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and where people that traditionally have more capital, more access to finance, are using that to build exclusive DAOs, which is an oxymoron in itself. Build NFT drops, build, VCs are getting into the DAO space and not being very transparent or very inclusive with what they're doing. And I think one of the biggest challenges in Web 3 is education. And if people don't have education to what is Web 3, what is crypto, what is blockchain, what are NFTs, then yeah, naturally people are going to be left out of all the action that's happening and all the money that's being made, all the careers that are lifting off the ground. And so access and education should be really the forefront of this movement to make it as inclusive as possible.
Great, thanks. And Adebayo, any thoughts from you?
So I also think education is key. Like I would always say, people need to be educated and people need to be transparent enough. I think aside decentralization, one of the things that we think we are going to enjoy for Web3 is transparency. We want to know how everything are being run. So educate people. DAO should be transparent enough, Web3 communities to be transparent enough, and I think that solves it, even though I know there are still some sneaky greedy people where they want to make profit on anything and everything, but I think with education, people get to know which and which DAO should I join, which and which community will add value for me, which and which community or which and which DAO is a get rich scheme. So the more people get educated about Web3, the more they get to know and the more they get to make less mistake. So I think that's for me.
Nice. And so one of the topics we talked about today were NFTs. And so we kind of I won't say raised past it, but for a lot of people, NFTs are a little bit strange. They're like these are basically just like GIFs and JPEGs, pings, like digital art. And some of us is like me, it's like every day someone's like, hey, you want to come invest in this NFT company? And it's like, it's just such a strange concept for so many people because they just hear it as like digital art. Like, why would I just, like, if I want a painting, I want to buy a painting, right? So they're just seeing it as kind of like this digital art collection. But really, as you start to talk to people, that NFTs offer so much more promise through ticketing, through subscriptions, so much more value. So what kind of like, so that, the art kind of aside from it, what do each of you kind of see as what NFTs could bring to communities and just kind of moving what NFTs are for people that just today are only like conceptualizing them as digital art?
yeah, for me, I think obviously again biased the intellectual property NFTs or IP NFTs as we call it. Um, the thing that I also didn't mention that makes it great is you can fractionalize that very easily, and it can be owned by 1,200 people or 10,000 people, and you can own a fraction of that. So I think fractionalization is also something that's really exciting for me. And yeah, so just wanted to add that. And like you can fund any project. You can fund a new football stadium or whatever, and you can actually own a part of that football stadium, which is so cool for fans. It's so cool for you can. I think people are already doing this where they wanted to buy a basketball team. I don't know how it's going with that, but imagine a DAO buying like the jerseys of the players are like NFTs, and you can help design that NFT, and then like the players playing with that, and like the ticket, if you own the NFT, you can also go to any game. So it's like Yeah, it's just the possibility is already endless.
Wow, that's amazing, Heinrich. I guess then we'll go Jessica. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think the promise of NFTs, or the cool thing about NFTs, is ownership, digital ownership. And I'm a little biased because I still haven't 100% bought into the whole NFT craze, because I've seen a lot of scams and rug pulls, and I think a lot of it is just building up FOMO, the fear of missing out, and just get the get rich quick schemes, which I don't think Web3 is about. Like, the integrity of Web3 is so much more than just getting rich. So I try to stay away from that. But in essence, yeah, it's about ownership. It's about I think it's great that artists now have access to ownership, and also just new ways of finance for their work, which has traditionally been really hard for them, um, and community. So community is, I think, the key to thriving in Web3. So that's another big plus of NFTs. Also, mass adoption. So we saw in this past year, like, NFTs brought in a huge wave of new crypto users, and if that means like putting some art on some tradable assets, then great. Like, whatever it does to bring more new users.
Nice. And then Adebayo, any thoughts from you?
So for me, I have this weird perception about it. I think the reward for NFT is not now. We want to talk about intellectual property, we want to talk about digital identity, but the real fun of it is, do we really need it now? Web3 is going to a phase where we, of course, we need a digital identity, and that's where your NFT comes in place. Do you have a digital identity? Do you have NFTs? So for me, the reward for NFTs is not yet now. I sort of tell my friends that sell off their NFT and say, oh, 25 years, 25 years, 30 years, you don't have any NFT. What wants to be your digital identity? Why are you selling? Why are you in a rush to make money out of it? What then comes to you then? So for me, the reward for NFT is not now. People, yes, in as much as artists get to sell, they get to gain reward and all of that, it's like a future reward for me. Your digital identity, your intellectual property, you want to keep it and wait for it till then. And trust me, I know there's more the future offers us than what we are seeing at the moment in Web3.
Wow, this has really been amazing today. This is Blake over here, Community Hour. I've got my Dallas Mavericks playoff T-shirt, and today, and you're like, why am I wearing this T-shirt? Like, this is a basketball team in the U.S. They have not won a playoff series since 2011. We had the great Dirk out there, so we actually have a chance to win our first playoff series in a long time. So just kind of being a lifelong fan of this team, so I've got that on today. But more importantly, really amazing that I've had Heinrich, Jessica, Adebayo on today. We kind of like demystify like Web3. We've talked about it in a very way with a lot of clarity and a lot of beyond the hype and real meaningful and kind of practical ways. So for a lot of the community professionals out there today, or even people coming up, right? We've got a lot of people coming up that are trying to learn about this. And so I think this really gives them a great kind of foundation, some really great inspiration. I'm sure they're going to check this stuff out, especially seeing it on replay, on clips, where so much of that stuff is. And I just say for a lot of people today, just be sure to go back and read the Clue Train Manifesto book, the 10th anniversary edition. I think is the latest one. Pick it up. It talks so much about a lot of the promise there today. I've got a link from Heinrich. I'll put that into chat. But that's really just it for me. Next week, we've got another amazing Community Hour show. We've got a lot of great stuff from leading up through May, a lot of great events. We'll do a lot more with Web3, but on Community Hour, just saying we're not like the NFT bros and things like that. We're going to be talking about Web3 in a very meaningful way to help to really give practical stuff that people can walk away from. And just really thanks to everybody that came on today to help to really start. This is an amazing, exciting time to be community professionals. And there's so much that can clearly go wrong, but there's so much that can clearly go right. And we've seen people that are just really just not only using Web3 for kind of from the corporate side, but for good, for making planet Earth a better place. And each of these three individuals are doing stuff both professionally and personally to do that, whether through volunteering, helping people out, all those, so many different ways. But I'll let each of you kind of close it out today. So that was just my side, Blake Community Hour. So Heinrich, any closing thoughts from you today? Not to put you on spot.
Um, yeah, I think I just wanted to echo also because I listened to Jessica's answer. You asked her a really good question: how do people learn about blockchain? And I really want to echo what she said. Like, going on YouTube, like start with like the basic, what is blockchain? In there you'll hear smart contracts. Then you type in what is smart contracts, and there you'll hear DeFi. Then you type in what is DeFi, and then you hear about, and then like make your way through whenever you hear a new concept, and you want to learn more about it, like YouTube is how I learned, and obviously there's reading as well, there's Twitter, but there's a lot of noise in a lot of places, and I think YouTube quickly helps you. Like, it's kind of easy to see, yeah, who knows their stuff and who doesn't, and be careful of scams. Like, like be mindful if it's a paid promotion of a certain random project. Just yeah, just want to caution people.
Yeah, great. And if the NFTs look like Microsoft Paint, there might be an issue, right?
Well, you never know. It might be like the best one, like CryptoPunks. But anyway, I just wanted to say thanks for organizing this, Blake, and really enjoyed the hour. And yeah, thanks for inviting me again.
All right.
Nice to meet you, the rest
Yeah,
of you as
thanks.
well. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, Heinrich. And then Jessica, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, just to echo on that note, if you're going down the rabbit hole on YouTube, that means that you're part of the 4% of people in the world that even own cryptocurrency or are beginning to go like learn what is this new economy. So you're already doing a good job if you're listening to this, like on this podcast, doing your research, learning what is Web3, because this is just the beginning. I think Bitcoin is just a teenager, like 13 years old. This is the beginning of a new transformation, the digital revolution. So if you feel like you don't know anything, I really don't think many people do. No one is an expert, but it's the learning journey that's really exciting, and connecting with communities and like just like the people on this call. It's been great to hear your stories and hear your experiences. So it's just buckle up. It's a great journey ahead.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jessica. And then last but not least, from Nigeria, one of the most amazing places today and hub of community professionals. Always a reminder, if you're looking for great community professionals, start your talent search in Nigeria. I've said it, and now you know. And then so Adebayo, take us out today. Final thoughts. And you
Yeah,
get to
so
take us
for
out
me,
of
finally, to echo what Jessica and Henry have said, Web3 is not crypto, Web3 is not blockchain, Web3 is not Bitcoin. Web3 is a whole new thing you want to go and find out about. And if you're on YouTube, yes, if you're on this call, you're on the right place. So research about it, look for what Web3 is deeply, and pick a choice. Don't allow communities or don't allow people box you into NFTs or crypto and say, hey, you have to do airdrop. Sit down, research, pick a choice, make your choice and make the best choice. So thank you very much, Blake, for hosting this call.
Wow, that's great. All right. Well, thank you all. Have a great rest of your Thursday, April 28th, for a very special edition today, Community Hour with Web3 Meaningful Ways. We'll have lots more. Hopefully, have you all back here at different points throughout the year. But thanks again. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks for everybody that was watching us live or watching us on replay, whether it's like 3 years from now, 5 years from now. They're like, we'll look back at it 3, 5 years from now and see how we like age. Like, wow, they really knew what they were talking about on that day, Thursday, April 28th, 2022. But thanks again for everyone. This has been an amazing Web3 edition of the Community Hour. Take care.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Blake. Bye, everyone.
Bye.